So I'm sitting here in my office after working with a client, and I'm just kind of going through YouTube. And as you guys know, over here, we have some YouTubers that we respect. One of them being O'Shea Duke Jackson. I want to make it very clear that on this platform here on TSP, we do not attack people, we attack ideas. So I want to make it very clear that I have a lot of respect for O'Shea as a man, as a content creator, as a pro-black. I just want to put that out there, make that very clear. But I do have some strong words against a video that he did on his Celebrity Junk channel, referring to Stephen Boss, also known as tWitch. I did not know that he had an affiliation with Ellen DeGeneres. I guess he was on her show as a DJ. I remember him being affiliated with So You Think You Can Dance. Mrs. Evil is a really big fan of that show. And so I watched him compete on the early days when the show was first created. And then he was a judge on the last season that aired, I think, earlier this year in 2022. So at age 40, he decided that it was time to go. And O'Shea puts out a video on his second channel. He harps on the fact that this man had a white wife. And I guess the point of the video was, you know, dating outside your race will not lead to happiness because look at what this man did. Wow, O'Shea, that was pretty fucked up video to make. It was a very fucked up idea to put out there because this man's death had nothing to do with his affiliation with women, whether they be gay or straight, whether he be married to them, their skin color had absolutely nothing to do with this man's self-termination. And O'Shea had some comments about him being, you know, weak because he left his kids behind, etc., etc. But I felt like it was important to add some perspective from someone who has dealt with suicide in all of the possible ways that you can deal with it. My father dealt with suicidal ideation and many attempts on his life before I was born and after I was born. At age 7, that was the first time I actually pressed a kitchen knife to my own chest. I was ready to go at age 7. Since then, I've dealt with it's been a few years, but I probably say from the age of 7 all the way through the age of, I'm going to say 36, I dealt with suicidal ideation where leaving this earth was a real option for me. It's difficult for me to hear people judge those who have expressed the desire to no longer exist, or those who have attempted to not exist anymore, and those who have been successful at not existing anymore. And I've learned a lot from the experiences that I've had and really trying to understand the psychological places I was in. And for added context, I've lost an aunt and 2 uncles to self-termination since 2012. One of them self-terminated, I want to say, earlier this year. Another self-terminated in 2015. Some of you may know that I did Black Power Magic Hour with Messiah Rhodes. He's had also attempted self-termination as well. And this happened after he woke up from a nap and found that his partner had self-terminated. So I have been a survivor of my own suicidal ideation, one of my parents, the unsuccessful attempt of friends, successful attempts of friends, and successful attempts of family members. I believe that I'm a little bit more qualified to give a perspective on what it is like to deal with these issues of the mind. It takes a lot to deal with the trauma that some people have. My trauma began while I was in the womb. The abuse of my mother by her father. The abuse continued after I was born, where her father started to abuse me. And I was removed from my mother's custody and placed in a foster home at age 2 because of the extreme abuse. But then 2 years later, I was released back to the custody of my mother, and the abuse continued from various sources. The psychological abuse continued all the way until I ended up homeless at age 19. So a lot of the psychological torture that I went through led me to believe that the world would be better off without me. I was led to believe that I was a horrible person because, you know, I didn't take out the garbage that one time. Or I didn't sing this religious song that was expected of me to sing. So there was a lot of psychological damage that I took, emotional damage, physical damage that I took growing up. My aunt and my 2 uncles that self-terminated, very, very difficult upbringing, and their adult years were no less unkind to them. I believe my father was a severe victim of child abuse from what I understand, at least the age of 5, could be earlier. Oh, and then, you know, a friend of mine that was a partner of a really good friend of mine, you know, she was a victim of extreme abuse in different ways than I was. And then, of course, you know, a lot of you like that know Messiah, you don't know what this guy has had to do just to be breathing today. You guys just don't know. And every single time somebody I look up to and respect takes their own life, I put myself in their shoes and what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Because it is not normal. We all have this innate drive for self-preservation. And when that is no longer within us, or the desire to not exist starts to overpower that very, very strong desire towards self-preservation, I can get how people can struggle to understand that. I could totally get that. But from my vantage point, when I look at these people, I see the demons that they deal with, the memories of trauma that they have gone through, the lack of hope for the future, the belief in some cases that the world is not worth living in, or that we are not worth living in this world anymore. It's a very difficult thing to deal with on a day in, day out basis, while also trying to be strong for people on the outside, because it's not It's not a great thing to admit that you don't want to continue to live anymore, especially when you are in an age where people believe that you have your whole life ahead of you, or in the case of Stephen Boss, they look at him as somebody that had it all of these external things that people point to and say, no, your life is great. And they don't understand what it is like to be inside your own head wondering, why do I not want to live anymore? And shaming yourself. See, there's a lot of people that want to be quick to shame somebody for expressing suicidal ideation and or attempting or succeeding at self-termination. You don't think that these people denigrated themselves before ultimately leaving this earth by their own hands? Do you think that this thought of, oh, you're weak and you're selfish, you don't think that they've heard this thousands of times? You don't think men who built the world, who are 5 times as more likely to kill themselves than women, with the burden of performance that men have throughout history, and weak and selfish is what comes to mind? We've seen the most selfish people in the world do whatever they can to preserve self over all others. And then you see someone who has lost the ability to preserve self, and selfishness is what you get out of that. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And I can tell you from the position of somebody who has wavered in the desire to live over a 30+ year time span, as somebody who has dealt with, is close to, born from, related to people who have attempted and committed self-termination, and knowing what they dealt with on a day in, day out basis. I think that it's important for all of you to understand that suicidal ideation is not rational. Applying rational thought to an irrational act that comes from irrational feelings, you're going to fail at understanding. You're going to fail at assessing the action, because it's 2 different languages. And I can tell you from someone who is nearing the age of 40 that every single time someone that I love and or respect self-terminates, I have to actually tell myself and commit myself to the following principle. It is my job to find the joy and the happiness in life that those who are no longer here couldn't find. I applaud every single one of you that don't understand suicidal ideation, because that means that you're going to be less likely to be one of the people that we eulogize in the future for this reason. I envy people like you that don't understand what it is like to no longer want to exist, or to believe that you're not worthy of existing anymore, or to lose faith in the world because you look at its trajectory and don't see why you should continue to struggle in this rat race. And don't see a point to it. There are many reasons why. You look at Chester Bennington. I looked at him and I said, wow, I get it. This is a man who wanted to make music. a person who is naturally introverted, wanted to make music, but because he is the front man of one of the biggest bands in the world, Linkin Park, everybody believes that your life belongs to them because you made some music they like. And your life is no longer your own. And everybody is come to you with their fucking hands out. They're coming to you with their requests and their demands. Take. Simply because you made some fucking art that they liked. And it just gets to be too much for you. I can see why that man did not want to be here anymore. But only as somebody who has been on that side that's had that dark calling. You guys don't know what it is like. You know, I spend a lot of money every month on automobiles. And people say, why don't you take the subway? But I remember when I took the subway, I used to stare. I used to stare at the train tracks. I used to stare at every train when they would roll into the station, and I would have to take a step back from the platform because I did not know if that calling to the grave was going to kick in at that moment. I did not know. It's a very uncomfortable place to be in. I don't know. Maybe I'm wasting my time making this video. Maybe I'm going to get people in the comment section talking about how weak I am and how weak my family is. And, you know, they know everything that we've been through and all this and that. Maybe I'm wasting my time, but maybe I'm not. Maybe there's somebody out there that's dealing with what I've dealt with for years. But thank God over the last 3+ years, I feel like I've grown out of it. I know I'm not out of the woods. I know that for a fact. I am not out of the woods. But I feel stronger than I ever felt before. And I'm hoping that somebody's able to take something from this, or at the very least, some of you that don't understand, maybe you can have some goddamn compassion. Because for all we know, some of these people that left the earth by their own hands, a little compassion might have brought them back from the ledge. It would have made them figuratively step back from the platform and away from the approaching train. Maybe. Just maybe. I hope that some of you got something out of this. Hope that you guys got a little bit more perspective on this. Obviously, in the comment section, you guys are going to tell me what you think of me and everybody else that have dealt with extreme depression and self-hatred and despair. But I'm hoping that there are going to be some of you out there that have some sort of humanity, some sort of compassion. Maybe it'll help you to help other people. Maybe.
What are you going to do to save yourself?
Freestyle. Do what I love. Do what comes to the heart. Hopefully that'll be enough.
This is the moment everybody's been waiting for. Cyrus, tWitch, finally.
Unpack them in Air Maxes, stuff 6 figures in my damn air mattress. I'm in love with large bills, are down with